This evening we are joined with David Holden. He's the lifeboat sea safety officer. So good evening, David.
Hello, Daniel.
Firstly, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a boat owner, living in Queenborough for the last 30 odd years. Been sailing since I was probably the age of 13, dinghies and then on cruises later on. Spent the early part of my life at sea, did about 20 years on small survey ships all around the world. But for the last 20 years I've been ashore, but I've managed to obviously accrue quite a bit of experience in small boats, and that was part of my background for becoming involved in sea safety with the RNLI.
What does your role as sea safety officer cover?
It's a relatively new role, although sea safety as such was reintroduced. The RNLI has been doing sea safety for a long time, started about 130 years ago, with their first ideas to help fishermen with barometers and so on in ports. But at the 175th year it was decided that education advice to boat owners and seafarers and users of small craft should be more should be better organised. So sea safety advisors were set up, I think it was in 1996, and since then that's been rolled out, but sea safety officers were only started a couple of years ago.
Okay. How long have you been doing this role, and what kind of experience do you need to take the role on?
Well, the idea was not to devolve our management, if you like, of sea safety from divisional officers, and which covered, say, the east part of the country, the south coast, to people who are more locally based, like myself, so that we'd be attached and we'd have some connection with our local lifeboat station, in this case CNS, and our own experience of boating, plus a liaison with the local boathouse and knowing what the crews get up to and the sort of problems they have bringing in casualties will give us a better insight in what to tell people when we go and visit them with their own small boats.
David, what safety advice do you have for us?
Well, we can probably put it quite in a way that people can remember, and we've got an acronym, It's Wet, and the letters stand for this. I, inform, so tell somebody where you're going if you're going out in the water. T, for training, and obviously a knowledge of your activity, whether it's personal watercraft, PWCs, sailing or bigger boats. S, some form of SOS device, some way of calling for help, a VHF radio or something similar. W, wear a life jacket. It's a life statement, not a fashion one. Wear it. Useless unless worn. E, engine and fuel check. Make sure you got enough fuel and spares. And letter T, tides and weather. Check the conditions before you head out. Listen to your local inshore forecast. All those items, that makes the word It's Wet.
Okay.
And if you remember that, then that's a good way to start before you go out on your boat or whichever way you enjoy the sea.
Do you ever go out with the crew here on the island?
Not directly. Probably at my age, I'm probably too old to now. And most of my advisors who help me are older than myself. Some of them are in their 60s. We're encouraged, obviously, to make connections with the crew, and it's good to find out what they've been up to and what sort of problems they've had with casualties, because it gives us an insight in what we should tell people and advise people to make their boating safer and a happier experience for them.
So David, do you give safety talks to clubs, groups, schools and their societies?
We tend to cover boating organisations, clubs, yacht clubs, sailing clubs. The school side, the RNLI's got other officers. They actually have education officers who tend to liaise with the schools, and if there's any school listening, we can always put them in touch with the local RNLI education officer. So that's the sort of activity we do. We can organise presentations which include flare demonstrations and demonstrations of life jackets and safety equipment.
In what other ways do you give safety advice?
More on a one-to-one basis. Myself and my team of advisors, I've got 5 or 6 volunteers, and we cover the Medway and Swale area, and if people contact us, we can actually come down and visit their boat whether it's in their drive on a trailer or on a mooring or in a marina, and we can come down and spend some time with them, give them personal safety advice on the sort of boating they do and the equipment they may have at the moment.